Hey, so now that we've derived the quadratic formula, so we have it now, it is x equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. That's the important part right there, an important part. Make sure it's all over 2a. It's a big mistake people make. So that equals x, and we can use that in solving quadratic equations that aren't factorable and that we don't feel like completing a square root for. So say we have something like x squared minus 3x minus 1. Not factorable. We can check things that multiply to minus 1, add to negative 3, I don't got anything. And completing a square is going to involve fractions, because I'd have to divide that 3 by, well, 2. Take half of it. So instead I'm going to use the quadratic formula. So it just goes in order, as long as you have it written like a quadratic is normally written, with your x squared first, your x second, and your constant last. It just goes in order. So my a is going to be 1. That'd be the number in front of my x. My b is going to be a minus 3, and my c is going to be a minus 1. Now it's a matter of just plugging it in. So we're going to plug in slowly for the first time so we get an idea of what everything looks like. So negative 3, since b was negative 3, plus or minus square root of b squared would be negative 3 squared minus 4 times a is 1, c would be negative 1. Okay, all over 2 times a, so 2 times 1. Okay, so now I'll get x equals negative 3 is 3, plus or minus square root of negative 3 squared is 9, minus 4 times 1, so minus 4 times 1 is a minus 4, times minus 1 would be plus 4, over 2. To finish, 3 plus or minus square root of 13 over 2. And I can't simplify this. I don't know the square root of 13. I can't break 13 down at all. So that's just it. That's what x equals. X equals both of those numbers. A 3 plus the square root of 13 and a 3 minus the square root of 13 over 2. Let's try this with another one. Say we have 2x squared plus 6x minus 3. So again, it just goes in order as long as you got it written in your standard quadratic. So x squared, x a number. So a is 2. B is 6, C is negative 3. So I'm just going to plug it in, and I'm going to get x equals, and I'm going to skip a few steps this time. Well, not really. Minus 6 plus or minus square root of, it'd be 6 squared, so 36, minus 4 times 2 times negative 3. Okay, all over 2a, so 2 times 2. Okay, so x is going to equal negative 6 plus or minus 36 minus 4 times 2 is minus 8 times a negative 3 will be plus 24 over 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, so negative 6 plus or minus 36 plus 24 should be 60 over 4. So now I can simplify it a little bit. So if I look at this, I have 6 and 4. I got 6 on the top and a 4 on the bottom. I cannot simplify those yet. This is going back to working with fractions. I can't simplify fractions if I'm adding or subtracting something. I can only do it if I could factor a number out. So let's look at my radical instead. See if I can simplify my radical. 60 I could rewrite as 4 times 15. So I could simplify 60. Well, let me recopy. Negative 6 plus or minus. So square root of 4 is 2. 15. So square root of 15 over 4. So negative 6 plus or minus 2 square root of 15 over 4. Now I can simplify my fraction because I could factor a 2 out. I could factor a 2 out, and I would get negative 3 plus or minus square root of 15 over 4. So then my 2 and my 4 would cancel. My final answer should just be that negative 3 plus or minus square root of 15. You can skip straight from this step, that negative 6 plus or minus 2 square root of 15 over 4, to the last step. If you notice that the same number goes into all 3 of your numbers on the outside, by being able to divide the same number out of the 2 numbers on the top, means that I'd be factoring it out. When you factor, you divide out. So as long as you see that same number divides into all 3 numbers, on the outside of your radical, then you can just divide it out. Okay, let's try another one. So say we have 4x squared minus 16x minus 8. First thing I'm going to notice is that this is huge numbers. If I try to set it up immediately into a quadratic formula, I'm going to end up squaring negative 16, which is going to be horrible. So instead, I'm going to see if I can make this any smaller. And hopefully I notice that 4 goes into all of my numbers. So I'm going to do that. X squared minus 4x minus 2 equals 0. It's an equation. I can do anything to an equation as long as I do it to both sides. So I'm just going to divide everything by that 4. Now I'm going to go ahead and put it into the quadratic. A equals 1, B equals negative 4, C equals negative 2, and this is going to be much easier than if I had tried it with the original. So let's plug it in. X equals negative 4 is 4, plus or minus square root of negative 4 squared is 16, minus 4 times 1 times negative 2 over 2a, so 2 times 1 is 2. So x equals 4 plus or minus, got 16 still, minus 4 times 1 is minus 4 times the minus 2 would be plus 8, all over 2. So 4 plus or minus square root of 24 over 2. Okay, again, I can't simplify the 4 and the 2 yet. I'm going to see if I can simplify that 24, square root of 24. And I can. I could rewrite that as 4 times 6. So I would get 4 plus or minus square root of 4 is 2, so 2 square root of 6 over 2. Now I could factor out a 2. Hopefully you see you can factor out 2 out of 4 and 2. Or again, I can say, well, 2 goes into all 3 of these numbers on the outside, so I'm just going to divide it out. 2 plus or minus square root of 6. That's going to equal my x. And I'm done. Okay, let's try another one. So if I have 3x squared plus 5x minus 1, can't really simplify this at all. If I divide by 3, it's not going to help. So might as well just go from here. A is going to equal 3, B is going to equal 5, C is going to equal negative 1. So I'll get x equals negative 5 plus or minus square root of 5 squared is 25 minus 4 times 3 times negative 1 over 2 times 3, so 6. So I'll get negative 5 plus or minus square root of 25 minus 4 times 3 is minus 12 times minus 1 is plus 12. All over 6. So negative 5 plus or minus square root of 37 over 6. And done. I can't simplify square root of 37, so I can't simplify this anymore. This just equals x. Okay, let's try the last one. So 2x squared plus 10x minus 3. Again, I can't divide out anything, so I'm just going to have to go from here. It's always a good idea to look for that, see if you can make it any simpler, not simplifier, that's not a word. So a equals 2, b equals 10, c equals negative 3. So x is going to equal negative 10 plus or minus square root of 10 squared is 100 minus 4 times 2 times negative 3 all over 2 times 2 would be 4. Simplify a bit more. We can go sideways on this one, why not? Negative 10 plus or minus square root of 100 minus 4 times 2 is minus 8 times minus 3 would be plus 24 all over 4. So negative 10 plus or minus square root of 124 over 4. We can simplify this. Square root of 124, 4 would go into it 31 times. So I'd get negative 10 plus or minus 2 square root of 31. Square root of 4 is 2 over 4. And again, I can look at it and say, okay, between 10, 2, and 4, 2 goes into all 3 of those. So I can just divide it out. Minus 5 plus or minus square root of 31 over 2. And I'm done.